Mia Johnson woke before sunrise, her mind buzzing with excitement. Today she and her husband Marcus would finally take their long-planned weekend trip to the mountains. She smoothed the bright pink suitcase that stood by the door, a cheerful contrast to the gray morning light outside. She had chosen that suitcase because it reminded her of spring blossoms. She imagined how happy it would look on the luggage carousel at their destination. Marcus joined her in the hallway. Tying his shoelaces with practiced ease, he gave her a warm smile. "Ready?" he asked quietly. Mia nodded, biting her lower lip as her heart fluttered. They stepped outside together, the cool air filling their lungs and waking their senses. The drive to the airport was easy. Marcus drove while Mia watched the sky grow lighter, first rays of sun touching the tops of apartment buildings and trees. She fingered the small charm on her backpack, a silver pine cone that Marcus had given her last Christmas. It felt like a promise of peaceful walks among tall pines, crisp air, and the calm of nature far from city noise. At the airport, they followed the signs for Flight 324. Mia's excitement grew as they walked through the sliding doors into the busy terminal. Travelers bustled around them, pulling rolling bags, sipping coffee to shake off sleep, leaning on their phones to check flight details. The scent of fresh pastries and warm bread drifted through the air, mixed with the sharper smell of cleaning supplies. Overhead announcements echoed, a gate change here, a delay there. Reminders to keep carry-on items within size limits. Mia tightened her grip on the handle of her suitcase as she and Marcus joined the queue for security. She felt a little nervous, but Marcus reached for her hand and gave it a gentle squeeze. "We'll be at the gate soon," he whispered. She smiled back. Through security was quick. Mia watched the belt carry her pink suitcase through the X-ray machine. When it popped out the other side, she grabbed it and collected her backpack and coat. They walked toward Concourse B, where Gate 12 awaited. The hallway was wide and bright, with shops lining both sides. There was a store selling souvenirs keychains shaped like airplanes, postcards of famous monuments, and another selling electronics where people stopped to buy chargers or headphones. Mia eyed a little stand offering fresh juice. She made a mental note to get a mango smoothie after they passed security by the time they reached Gate 12. More passengers had gathered. Some sat quietly, reading books or working on laptops. Others stood in small groups, chatting or staring at the gate displays. A family with 2 small children juggled snacks and carry-ons. An older man in a well-worn leather jacket hunched over his phone, possibly checking email or passing time with a game. Mia and Marcus found spots a few rows back. Marcus set the suitcase on the floor beside him, while Mia pulled her phone from her pocket. She scrolled through her messages, but her mind kept drifting to the trail they would hike. She imagined tall pines swaying in the breeze, the gentle sound of wind through branches, the sun filtering through leaves and painting the ground in moving shadows. Estimated boarding in 10 minutes. A calm voice said over the speakers. Mia looked up. A gate agent stood near a podium, smiling professionally but tiredly at the passengers. The screen showed Flight 324 to Pine Grove. Boarding at 8:15 a.m., the current time was 8:05. Mia felt a thrill. Soon, they would be on their way. She picked up her suitcase, ready to step forward the moment her row was called. Marcus followed her lead. He moved closer to the desk, waiting for their group to be invited. Then the gate agent spoke again. "Now boarding rows 1 through 5. Please have your boarding passes ready." Mia and Marcus listened carefully. They were in row 7, so they waited. Mia adjusted her hair, made sure her backpack straps were comfortable. Other rows passed in front of them, passengers swiping cards and sliding down the plane stairs. Mia watched them go, feeling anticipation rise. She wanted to step onto the plane, find her seat, settle in. A few moments later, the attendant changed. Her call, now boarding rows 6 and 7. Mia smiled at Marcus, then stepped forward. She placed her pink suitcase on the metal conveyor of the portable stairs leading into the plane. The attendant guiding the stairs gave a curt nod. Mia balanced the bag so the wheels faced forward, then pressed her hands gently against it. "Ma'am." "Move it faster," said a sharp voice behind her. Mia turned and saw a flight attendant in a crisp uniform. Her name tag read Laura Stevens. Laura's hair was pulled back in a tight bun. Her eyes looked tired and her mouth was fixed in a thin line. Mia offered a quick apology. "I'm sorry. It's just heavier than I thought." She leaned forward and tried to ease the suitcase up another inch, her fingers gripping the handle. Laura tapped her foot and folded her arms. "Can you hurry up? Other passengers are waiting." Her tone was abrupt. Mia felt a flush creep up her cheeks. She glanced briefly at the line behind her, where a few people had started to frown or step aside. She tried one more time to push the bag, but the conveyor felt uneven. She shifted her weight, leaned in, and pressed down as Mia gave the suitcase. Another push. Laura reached out without warning and shoved it with her hand. The suitcase slipped from Mia's hold, tipped forward, and tumbled down the stairs with a loud thud at each step. Mia gasped, her heart hammering in her chest. The sound echoed in the quiet plane entrance. Other passengers paused. A woman won. Roback pressed her hand to her mouth. A man in a business suit turned around, eyebrows raised. The pink suitcase hit the bottom step with a final clang, then wobbed and lay on its side. The wheels stuck awkwardly in the stair grate. Mia stood, frozen for a moment, her eyes wide. She looked up at Laura, whose lips curled into what looked like annoyance. The attendant said, "Next." She motioned for a young man behind Mia to bring his bag forward. Mia felt heat rise in her face. She stepped forward slowly, her cheeks burning. The young man gave her a sympathetic glance as he moved past. She balanced herself, then knelt to pick up her suitcase. The metal handle, now bent slightly, scraped against her fingers as she lifted it. She set it upright and held it close to her chest. Marcus sprang forward as soon as Laura turned away. He knelt beside Mia, checking the suitcase for damage. The pink exterior had scratches and tiny dents. Mia traced a finger along a crack in the hard shell. Her lips trembled. "Are you all right?" Marcus asked softly. His voice held a mix of concern and quiet anger. Mia nodded, swallowing hard. "Yes, I'm okay. But look at this." She pointed to the scratched side. Marcus placed a gentle arm around her. "I know, I'm sorry." He met her eyes and gave a small, determined nod. "We'll sort this out." Passengers around them whispered. Mother nearby pulled her child back from the stairs. A teenager raised an eyebrow and tapped his phone, probably ready to record any more trouble. The young man who had gone before them offered Mia an apologetic smile. Laura Stevens closed the plane door behind her, then adjusted the stair unit. She glanced back once, but she said nothing else to Mia. The boarding continued. But the warm, light mood of the morning had shifted. Mia stood beside Marcus, clutching the damaged pink suitcase and feeling a hollow ache where her excitement had been. As they walked back toward the gate desk, Mia drew in a shaky breath. She tried to steady her legs, focusing on Marcus's calm presence next to her. The hum of conversation in the terminal reached her ears again, and she realized all eyes were still on her and her suitcase. She forced herself to look ahead, toward the gate agent's counter, determined to face whatever came next with courage. Her heart thudded, but she refused to let fear or embarrassment take over. The morning sunshine streamed through the large windows, dancing on the polished floor. Even though her suitcase lay battered at her feet, she held her head high. She would not let one rude shove steal her joy.
No matter what happened next,
And Marcus would find their way to that mountain trail and enjoy their weekend together, ChatGPT said. Mia stood motionless on the terminal floor, her breath caught in her throat as the echo of her pink suitcase colliding with the metal steps still rang in her ears. Around her, time seemed to slow. The young man who had boarded before her froze mid-step, a half-smile of surprise on his face. A mother gently hushed her crying toddler, as if trying not to draw more attention. The once busy boarding area fell silent for a heartbeat, and Mia felt every eye on her. Her heart pounded so loudly she was sure others could hear it. Marcus knelt beside her, his face a mix of sympathy and controlled anger. He reached out, fingertips trembling, and pressed a reassuring hand to her elbow. Mia forced her legs to carry her forward, each step feeling heavy as she cradled the dented suitcase. The wheels scraped the polished floor, leaving tiny black marks as they passed. She looked back at the airplane stairs, their dull gray metal seeming harsher now, and at the flight attendant, Laura, whose crisp uniform remained spotless. Laura's posture was rigid, shoulders squared, her back turned toward Mia as if nothing had happened. Mia's chest tightened. She forced herself to steady her breathing. Each inhale felt too sharp, too fast. She tasted the metallic temps of adrenaline in her mouth. The sweet scent of pastries drifting from a nearby cafe did nothing to calm her nerves. Instead, it reminded her of morning hopes, of anticipation turned sour. She swallowed and met Marcus's eyes. He nodded, giving her the courage to move. They walked together back to the gate desk, each footstep echoing in the hush. As they approached the counter, an older woman came forward, placing a gentle hand on Mia's shoulder. "I'm so sorry that happened to you, dear," she said softly. Her voice was kind, filled with genuine regret. Mia managed a small, grateful smile. The woman's eyes were warm and understanding. "You didn't deserve that," she added. "No one does." Mia felt a spark of solace in that moment. She wasn't alone. Others had seen and cared. Behind the counter, the gate agent glanced up from a stack of boarding passes. He frowned when he noticed the bent suitcase and the worried expressions on Marcus and Mia's faces. "What happened here?" he asked, leaning forward. His tone was polite but firm. Marcus, standing tall now, explained clearly. "Your flight attendant shoved my wife's bag down the stairs and it got damaged. We need to know what will happen next." The gate agent's eyes widened. He wore a name badge that read Carlos, and his uniform looked less stiff than the attendant's. He took a step out from behind the counter to look at the suitcase himself. Mia watched as he lifted the handle, tested the wheels, then set it back down with care. "I'm very sorry," he said, looking genuinely troubled. "That is unacceptable behavior. Let me call my supervisor." Carlos spoke into his radio. Mia felt a mix of relief and anxiety. Relief that someone was taking her seriously, anxiety about what consequences might follow. She thought of Laura, standing alone by the stairs, and then of herself, standing here now. Down her cheek, she wiped it away quickly, not wanting to appear weak. Marcus squeezed her hand. "Take your time," he said. A few minutes later, a uniformed supervisor arrived. He introduced himself as Mr. Patel and offered a firm handshake to both Mia and Marcus. His expression was respectful, and he immediately knelt to inspect the suitcase. "I understand this must have been upsetting," he said in a calm voice. Mia nodded, her throat tight. She struggled to find words. Instead, she held out her suitcase for him to see the scratches and dents. "Mr. Patel straightened and nodded. "Yes, I see." He glanced at Laura, who had finally approached, her face pale with uncertainty. "Miss Stevens," he said, addressing the attendant, "please explain what happened." All eyes turned to Laura. She swallowed and opened her mouth, but no words came out. Her shoulders sagged and she looked as though she might cry. An awkward silence settled over the group. Passengers nearby whispered softly, some watching with curiosity, others with disapproval. Mia took a breath and spoke, her voice shaky but clear. "I was trying to load my suitcase onto the stairs. I moved it back and forth, but it felt stuck. I asked to move more slowly and the attendant shoved it." She looked at Laura directly. "I didn't hurt you. I didn't deserve that." Laura's lips trembled. She looked down at her polished shoes and then back at Mr. Patel. After a long pause, she mumbled, I lost my patience. I'm sorry." Her apology sounded weak, strained by shame. The supervisor nodded. "Thank you for acknowledging that. Apologies are a start, but we need to fix this." He turned back to Mia and Marcus. "We'll make sure this is addressed. Right now, I'll arrange for you both to have seats on the next flight with a fresh crew." Mia breathed out slowly, relief washing over her. She had expected anger or defensiveness from the airline, but instead, she found people willing to listen. She glanced at Marcus, who offered her a small, supportive smile. She let herself return it. Though shaken, she felt dignity restored. The hum of voices returned to normal around her as the incident faded back into the rhythm of the terminal. As they moved away from the counter, a few other passengers stopped them. A man with a briefcase said, "Glad you spoke up. Too many times people stay quiet," teenage girl added. "You handled that so well." Mia nodded, touched by their kindness. She realized that one person's rudeness had given birth to many small acts of support. It reminded her that respect and decency still existed. Hand in hand, Mia and Marcus walked toward the seating area. Mia adjusted her grip on the damaged handle. It felt different now, a little bent but sturdy. She looked at it and smiled faintly. This suitcase, once a symbol of joy, had borne witness to pain and then to solidarity. She would remember that feeling of strangers standing with her. They found seats near a large window overlooking the tarmac. Planes taxied past, their engines roaring softly. Mia settled into the chair, placing her suitcase at her feet. Marcus sat beside her and took her hand again. "I'm proud of you," he said. Those simple words made Mia's throat tighten with gratitude. She squeezed his hand back. Outside, the sky was bright and clear, the day moving on despite the morning's upset. Mia felt a renewed determination to keep going, to not let one bad moment steal her trip. She thought of their mountain trails, the pine forests, and the fresh air waiting for them. She looked at Marcus and took a deep breath. "I'm ready," she whispered, a small smile forming. He nodded. "Me too." Together, they rose from their seats, ready to face whatever came next, knowing that compassion and justice could travel with them, no matter where their journey led. Marcus sat beside Mia in the terminal seating area, his phone pressed to his ear. He tried to sound calm, his voice steady as he spoke to the airline's customer service representative. Mia watched him, her heart fluttering like a trapped bird. Every moment felt heavy and important. The hum of the airport around them, continued announcements came and went. The distant rumble of luggage carts, the soft chatter of other passengers, but for Mia, everything else faded into the background. Marcus cleared his throat. "Hello, this is Marcus Johnson. I'm calling about Flight 324 to Pine Grove. My wife and I were in the process of boarding when your flight attendant pushed her suitcase down the stairs. It hit every step, and it's badly damaged." He paused, listening carefully as the representative spoke. He answered politely, giving the flight number, the time, and the gate. Mia felt pride and relief wash over her. Marcus was making sure their voices were heard. She reached out and covered his hand with hers. He glanced over and offered a small, reassuring smile, motioned for her to stay calm. Mia nodded, though her throat felt tight. She remembered the suitcase's sharp clang against the metal steps and the cold look on the attendant's face. Even now, her stomach twisted at the memory. But Marcus was taking action, and that gave her hope. The representative on the phone sounded concerned. "I'm very sorry to hear this, sir. May I place you on a brief hold while I check with our operations team?" Marcus agreed. The hold music began a gentle melody that felt oddly comforting in the tense moment. Mia listened to the tune, focusing on each note, letting it calm the flutter in her chest. After a minute, the representative returned. "Thank you for waiting. I've spoken with the gate manager at Gate 12. We will launch an investigation immediately. We'll need to verify the attendant's account and review any security footage. In the meantime, I can hold the flight so no one departs until we resolve this." Marcus's eyes widened with relief. He gave Mia a quick glance. "It will not board until we hear back," he told her softly. Mia exhaled, her shoulders loosening. She felt a surge of thankfulness. Her husband's call had made a difference. The representative continued. "I understand you may wish to file a formal complaint. I can send you a link via email if that's convenient," Marcus asked for. The link, the representative confirmed her email address and promised to send the complaint form within minutes. Marcus thanked her. They hung up. Mia leaned her head on his shoulder, closing her eyes for a moment. She felt safe there, the steady rise and fall of his chest beneath her ear. She thought of how differently the morning might have gone if Marcus hadn't stepped in so quickly. She felt grateful for his calm voice, his clear words. They stayed seated, waiting for news. Around them, the terminal buzzed back to life. Passengers chatted, others scrolled on their phones, some slept with headphones on. A small group of children chased each other near a coffee stand, their laughter dancing through the air. Mia let herself smile at their joy. Life went on, even after something upsetting. Marcus checked his watch. He had called 10 minutes ago. He shifted, adjusting his legs, and glanced at the gate. He saw the portable stairs still parked by the plain door, the same cold gray metal that had seemed so harsh earlier. He noticed Laura Stevens, the attendant, standing alone by a cart of blankets. She looked down at the ground, her face drawn and unhappy. He wondered what she was thinking. Mia squeezed his hand. "Do you think they'll cancel the flight?" she asked quietly. Her voice wavered. Marcus offered a gentle smile. "They said they would hold it. Hope they investigate properly." He paused. "I want them to treat us fairly." She nodded, leaning against him. "I just want to get on that plane. I miss the idea of the mountains." Marcus chuckled softly. "Me too." He paused, then stood up slowly. "Let's check our email and get that complaint form ready."
They
Walked to a small charging station near the gate. Maya plugged in her phone while Marcus opened his email. As they waited for the complaint link, Marcus talked softly about the trail they planned to hike, the narrow ridge path, where tall pines arched overhead and the soft earth smelled of moss. Imagining the scene, sunlight filtering through branches, the distant chirping of birds, and the gentle whisper of the wind. Her racing heart slowed as she pictured herself walking that path with Marcus. A notification pinged on Marcus's phone. He opened the email. The complaint form lay there with fields to fill in names, flight details, and a space to describe the incident. He handed the phone to Mia. "Why don't you write it? You'll have the details fresh in mind." Mia studied the form. She tapped the space for the description and began typing. Her fingers shook at first, but soon the words came easily. She wrote about the morning light, the excitement of boarding, the way Laura's voice had snapped at her, and the moment the suitcase tumbled. She described how embarrassed she had felt, how her favorite pink suitcase was dented and scratched. She ended by asking for an apology and assurance that proper steps would be taken. Marcus watched her type, his chest swelling with pride. When she finished, she reread her words and nodded. He tapped submit. A confirmation page thanked her for the feedback and assured her someone would follow up by email. They sat back down, both feeling lighter. The complaint was out of their hands now, and they had made their voices heard. Mia looked around the terminal. Mother handed her child a cookie. The man sipped coffee and scrolled through news headlines. The bright screens of departure boards flickered overhead. Life's small dramas and joys unfolded all around them. Marcus touched Mia's arm. "Let's go back to the gate." He offered his arm, and she linked hers through his. Together, they walked toward the crowd of waiting passengers. As they neared the desk, the gate agent, Carlos, spotted them. He waved them over. "Mr. and Mrs. Johnson," he said warmly. "Thank you for your patience. The supervisor and I have looked into the matter. We have reviewed the footage, and we agree that you were treated inappropriately." His tone was sincere. Mia felt a rush of relief and gratitude. Carlos continued, "We will not board Flight 324 today. We're arranging for a new aircraft and crew. All of you will reboard in about 30 minutes. In addition, we're offering you meal vouchers for the inconvenience, and our airline will repair or replace your suitcase. We value your time and your business." Mia and Marcus exchanged a look of surprise and relief. "Thank you, Marcus." "Said we appreciate you listening?" Mia nodded. "Yes, thank you." Her voice held warmth. Realized how important it was to speak up, and how a kind word and a clear action could bring justice. Carlos handed them to meal vouchers. Mia tucked hers into her bag, thinking how good a smoothie or sandwich would taste after this morning's stress. Marcus offered to get them both something to eat from the cafe nearby. Mia smiled at him. "That sounds perfect." They walked together to the cafe, vouchers in hand. As they ordered smoothies and wraps, Mia felt the tension of the morning melting away. Marcus talked about the first sip of his mango smoothie, how cool and sweet it would be. Mia laughed softly, imagining the taste and the bright color. They carried their drinks back to the gate seating. Mia held her smoothie close, letting the cold cup soothe her fingers. She sipped slowly, the sweet, tangy flavor waking her senses. She took a deep breath, feeling gratitude flood her chest for Marcus, for the airport staff who helped, 4 strangers who offered comfort earlier. She looked at Marcus, who was smiling at her with kind eyes. "We make a good team," she said. Leaning in for a quick kiss on his cheek, he laughed and nodded. "The best." All around them, the airport buzzed with motion, passengers boarding and deplaning, luggage carts rolling, feet hurrying to gates and coming to rest in seats. But for Mia and Marcus, the world felt calm and right again. They had faced a moment of hurt and indignity, and they had turned it into a triumph of kindness and justice. As the boarding call echoed for the delayed Flight 324, Mia grabbed her repaired pink suitcase, now neatly wrapped with a protective film applied by the airline. She wheeled it forward with renewed joy. She and Marcus stepped onto the stairs together, hand in hand, ready to continue their journey. The memory of the shove lingered, but it no longer held power over her. She carried instead the warmth of support, the strength of her husband's voice, and the knowledge that kindness can prevail even in the busiest places on earth. Mia and Marcus walked back toward the counter, holding hands. Their hearts pounded as they approached the gate desk. The airport manager stood behind the counter, arms folded, his face calm but serious. He had introduced himself earlier as Mr. Patel, the same supervisor who had listened to their story. Now he leaned forward, placing both hands on the smooth surface of the desk. The air around them felt thick, like the moment before a storm breaks. Mia's suitcase sat between them, its pink shell still wrapped in protective film, she remembered. How dented it had been, the rough scrape marks. Now it looked neat again, almost like new. But the film made it clear that it had needed fixing. That film was both a promise and a reminder. Someone had to take responsibility. "Mr. and Mrs. Johnson," Mr. Patel began in a calm voice. "Thank you for waiting." He glanced briefly at his computer screen, then back at them. "I have reviewed the security footage, and I have spoken with the flight attendant, Ms. Stevens." Mia felt her chest tighten. She met Marcus's eyes. His jaw was set, but his hand squeezed hers gently. Mr. Patel continued, "I'm sorry for the way you were treated. That behavior goes against our policies, and it does not reflect the values of our airline. As a result, we will not depart. Flight 324 is scheduled. We will cancel this flight and rebook all passengers on a new aircraft with a different crew. This will take some time, so we will also offer you and the other passengers refreshments in our lounge." Mia felt a rush of relief and surprise. She had not expected such a strong response. The manager's words were firm and fair. He spoke, not as someone reading from a script, but as someone who truly believed in making things right. Marcus stepped forward. "Thank you, sir," he said. His voice was polite, but carried a note of relief. "We appreciate your prompt action." Mr. Patel nodded. "Of course. Please know that Ms. Stevens has been suspended pending further review. We will conduct additional training for all our staff to ensure this never happens again. Will help us improve." Paused, then pressed a button on his phone. "Gate agents. Please announce the cancellation of Flight 324 to Pine Grove. Offer affected passengers lounge access and rebooking assistance." Mia watched as passengers nearby turned toward the desk, curious. A gate agent stood up, took a deep breath, and spoke into a microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, we regret to inform you that Flight 324 to Pine Grove has been canceled. We are rebooking you on another flight at 11:30 a.m. Please show your boarding passes at the lounge. Entrance near Gate 14 for refreshments and assistance." A murmur rose among the crowd. Some passengers looked annoyed at the delay.
Others smiled.
Pleased at the free lounge access, a mother shushed her 2 small children, explaining quietly that they would have more time to play before boarding. A businessman sighed but then tapped his phone, likely sending a quick update. Mia felt a flutter of nerves and extra 2 hours at the airport. But she also felt gratitude for the unexpected comfort. Marcus put an arm around her shoulders. "Go to the lounge," he whispered. Mia nodded. As they moved away from the counter, they passed Laura Stevens. She stood by a gate agent's cart, her posture slumped and her head down. Her uniform remained pressed and neat, but her very stillness spoke of shame and regret. Mia caught Laura's eye for a moment. Laura looked away quickly, her cheeks flushing. Mia felt a pang of pity. She knew how hard it could be to admit a mistake. They walked to the lounge entrance near Gate 14. A tall woman in a smart uniform checked their boarding passes, smiled, and waved them inside. Mia and Marcus stepped through glass doors into a quieter space. The lounge was calm and cozy, with soft chairs, low tables, and a buffet counter lined with pastries, sandwiches, fresh fruit, and coffee machines. Warm light from floor lamps made the room feel like a quiet living room. Mia sank into a plush chair and let out a sigh. Marcus poured them both a cup of herbal tea. Mia watched as steam curled up from the cup, carrying the gentle scent of chamomile. She inhaled deeply and felt her shoulders drop. "Thank you for handling this so well," Marcus said, handing her the tea. "I know it wasn't easy." Mia smiled and accepted the cup. She wrapped her hands around it, letting the warmth spread through her fingers. "I'm proud of us," she said softly. "We stood up for what was right, and they listened." They sat together, sipping tea and nibbling on fresh fruit. Mia felt the taste of strawberry on her tongue, bright and sweet. She closed her eyes. For a moment, savoring the simple pleasure, she thought of their planned trip. The winding trail, the tall pines, the sound of wind and birds. In that warm lounge, those mountains felt closer again. After a few minutes, Marcus checked his phone. "Our new flight is confirmed," he said, showing her the screen. 11:30 a.m., they'll start boarding at 11 o'clock. He smiled. "That gives us time to relax." Mia nodded. "Good." She set down her tea and stood. "Let's find a window seat." They found a spot by a large window overlooking the runway. Planes glided across the tarmac, their shiny bodies gleaming in the sun. Mia watched a small jet taxi past, its engines humming. Through the glass, she could see ground crew guiding another plane into position. The world beyond the window felt busy but calm, like a well-orchestrated ballet of steel and motion. Marcus pulled out his phone. "Want to look at some trail maps?" he asked. Mia nodded eagerly. He opened a hiking app and zoomed into their destination area. Mia leaned in, tracing her finger along the narrow ridge path, noting a small waterfall, and a lookout point marked on the map. "I can't wait to see that," she said, her eyes bright. She tapped the waterfall icon. A small photo popped up, water spilling over mossy rocks into a clear pool, framed by emerald ferns. Mia sighed. "It's more beautiful than I imagined." Marcus laughed softly. "Just wait until we're there." He closed the app and set his phone down. "Thank you for your patience," he added, glancing at her. "This morning was hard, but I feel better right now being here with you." Mia reached across the table and took his hand. "Me too," she said, "and our trip is still on." They sat quietly, chatting about small things. What to pack for their hike, sandwich choices at the diner near their cabin, the playlist they would listen to on the drive. Each thought brought a spark of joy, weaving excitement into the calm of the lounge. At 10:45 a.m., a gentle chime sounded across the lounge. An airport announcement followed. "Flight 324 passengers, please proceed to Gate 12 for boarding. We will begin shortly." Mia stood and stretched. She felt rested, her worries eased. They walked back through the lounge doors, past the gate agents, and toward the plane. Mia glanced one last time at the buffet bar. A kind lounge attendant waved and said, "Have a pleasant flight." Mia smiled and waved back. By the stairs to the plane, they paused. Mia reached down to pick up her pink suitcase. The protective film covered it neatly, hiding any signs of past damage. She rolled it forward onto the portable stairs, feeling the smooth wheels glide easily. She looked up at the attendant guiding the steps, then across the tarmac to her husband waiting behind her. Marcus gave her a thumbs up and a bright smile. Mia felt a thrill of happiness. She took a deep breath and stepped onto the plane, suitcase in tow. As the door closed behind her, she settled into her seat by the window. She placed her backpack at her feet and fastened her seatbelt. Outside the window, she could see the morning light reflected on the wings. She thought of how the day had begun. Her suitcase shoved down those harsh metal stairs, her heart sinking. Then she thought of how it ended. An apology, a cancellation, time and a comfortable lounge, and now this moment of peace. The engine rumbled softly. Mia closed her eyes and laid her head against the seat. She pictured herself hiking along the ridge trail, sunlight dancing through the pines. She saw herself and Marcus standing at the waterfall, water sparkling in the sun. She imagined their laughter echoing in the mountain air. Her heart felt full. She opened her eyes as the cabin lights dimmed for takeoff. She reached out and squeezed Marcus's hand. He smiled and leaned over to kiss her cheek. Mia settled back, gazing out at the runway ahead. The ground crew waved, and the plane began to move. As it sped down the tarmac and lifted into the sky, Mia felt a sense of triumph. They had faced a moment of unkindness and turned it into an adventure filled with care and respect.
Ow.
They were on their way to the mountains, ready to make new memories together. And she knew that, no matter what happened next, they would face it side by side. The plane moved smoothly through the sky, gliding over clouds that looked like soft white pillows. Mia sat by the window, her hands still holding Marcus's. The sky outside was painted in soft blues and whites, and the world below looked peaceful, like a painting. She leaned her head against the small window and let out a slow, steady breath. Everything that had happened that morning felt like a storm they had passed through. And now, above the clouds, everything was calm again. Marcus gently squeezed her hand. "How are you feeling?" he asked, his voice low and kind. Mia smiled softly, lighter. "Like I can finally breathe again." He nodded. "I know what you mean. I think we did the right thing." She looked at him with quiet admiration. "We stood up for ourselves without yelling, without causing a scene, and people listened. That means something." The soft hum of the plane filled the cabin, a soothing background noise that made it easier for Mia to relax. A flight attendant, different from the earlier one, walked down the aisle with a friendly smile. She offered snacks and water. Mia accepted a small bag of crackers and a bottle of water. Marcus did the same. "Thank you," Mia said politely. "You're welcome," the flight attendant replied with a kind smile. "Let me know if you need anything else." Mia appreciated the difference in tone and energy. This new crew seemed thoughtful and calm. It made her feel respected again. She opened her crackers and nibbled on one slowly, letting the salt and crunch pull her further into the present moment. As the plane continued toward Pine Grove, Marcus pulled out his phone and showed Mia the photo of the waterfall again. They talked about what time they might arrive at their rental cabin, what food they wanted to try that night, and whether they would hike the shorter trail first or go straight for the ridge. Their voices were low and gentle, filled with hope and the comfort of each other's company. Mia turned to her suitcase, stored carefully above their seats. It might seem like a small thing to others, just a pink suitcase with a few scratches and dents. But to her, it meant more than that now. It was a reminder of what she had experienced and overcome. She thought of how many people in her life, especially women like her, had stayed silent during moments of unfairness. How often people decided it was better to move on quietly, to not cause trouble. But today had been different. Today she had spoken up, and the world hadn't fallen apart because of it. Instead, people had listened, supported, and taken action. "Do you think people will remember this day?" Mia asked. Marcus tilted his head. "The people at the airport. I think so. Maybe not everyone, but some will, and that matters." "I think so too," she said. "Even the other passengers. The woman who said, 'You didn't deserve that. She'd probably think about this again someday.'" Marcus nodded. "Maybe Laura will too. Maybe she'll learn from it. We all make mistakes, but how we grow afterward is what really counts." Mia rested her head on Marcus's shoulder. "I hope so. I don't want anyone to feel what I felt when that suitcase fell down those stairs." They sat in silence for a while. The sun had begun to shine more brightly outside, and the clouds slowly faded below them. As the pilot's voice came over the speaker to announce their descent, Mia felt a small flutter of excitement in her chest. After all the stress, they were finally close to their destination. As it rolled to a stop, at the gate, passengers began to gather their things. Mia stood and gently pulled her pink suitcase down from the overhead bin. She touched it softly, thinking of its journey and hers. When they stepped off the plane, the fresh mountain air greeted them. Even inside the small airport, they could smell pine trees and distant wood smoke. Everything felt quieter, more peaceful. Mia smiled at the thought that this place would be her escape, her healing spot after everything that had happened. They walked through the terminal and picked up their rental car. The drive to the cabin took about 30 minutes. Along the way, Mia watched the tall pine trees pass by, their green tops swaying gently in the breeze. The roads were narrow and curved gently around hills and rocks. Small cabins appeared here and there, smoke curling from chimneys, children playing outside. When they reached their own cabin, it was even more beautiful than they expected. Made of dark wood with a stone chimney and wide porch, it looked like something out of a picture book. Birds chirped nearby, and the breeze carried the scent of pine and earth. Inside, the cabin was cozy and warm. There was a soft couch, a fireplace, and a window that looked out over the trees. Mia placed her suitcase by the door and sat down. On the couch, with a long, deep sigh, she took in the view, the stillness, the silence. The first time that day, she felt completely at peace. Marcus made tea while Mia lit a few candles. The gentle glow filled the small cabin, casting soft shadows on the walls. They sipped their drinks and talked about the journey, the flight, and the people they had met. They spoke about how kindness had shown up in small moments like the gate agent who said, "We'll take care of this," or the stranger who said, "You didn't deserve that." Later that night, they sat outside under a sky full of stars. The air was crisp, and the sky was so clear that Mia felt like she could reach up and touch the stars. Marcus wrapped a blanket around both of them. As Mia whispered, "This is what we came for." He nodded. Peace and each other. They stayed there, wrapped in silence and starlight, thinking about how one morning at an airport turned into a day they would never forget, not because it ruined their plans, but because it made them stronger. In the following days, Mia and me. Marcus hiked the ridge trail, visited the waterfall, and took dozens of photos. Each evening, they sat by the fire, talking about life and dreams. But something had changed inside Mia. She felt a deeper confidence now, a sense that her voice mattered. That standing up didn't always mean shouting. Sometimes it just meant not backing down when your dignity was at stake. Before they left the cabin at the end of their trip, Mia took one last photo with her pink suitcase by the front porch, smiled brightly in the picture, sunlight on her face, mountains behind her, suitcase beside her. When she posted the photo online, she added a caption, "Don't be afraid to speak up. Kindness and fairness still exist. This journey taught me." That, a few days after they returned home, Mia received an email from the airline. It was a formal apology, signed by a senior executive. The message included news that the airline had begun a new training program focused on respectful service, using her story as part of their internal training material with her permission. They also offered her and Marcus complimentary tickets. For a future trip, Mia read the email twice, then showed it to Marcus. "They really listened," she said, surprised and pleased. Marcus smiled. "Because you spoke." And in that quiet moment, with the noise of travel behind them and the warmth of home around them, Mia realized something important. Even in places as busy and rushed as airports, people notice how you're treated. Even in places filled with strangers, a calm voice and steady heart can start change. Her journey had started with a tumble down some stairs, but it ended with a lesson that would stay with her forever. When you stand for respect and fairness, you not only lift yourself, you light a path for others to follow.